Welcome to the next video in our Maltego Essentials series. In our previous videos, we looked at the various versions of Maltego and how to get them installed and configured. If you do not have a running copy of Maltego, we recommend you review the previous videos before continuing. In this video, we are going to run a few transforms. If you don't have a graph open already, click on the new graph icon at the top left of the window to open up a blank graph. If you are new to Maltego, you might have wondered what this transform idea is we keep referring to. Well, in short, a transform is the bit of code that generates some information based on a bit of information we already have. We call the bits of information entities and refer to the process of executing the code that generates more entities as running a transform. The code is always executed on a transform server, in other words, not on your own machine. So in addition, running a transform in Maltego implies requesting the transform server to execute the piece of code on your behalf. Exploratory link analysis in Maltego is all about starting with the bits of information you already have, and through running transforms, we explore the relationships that this information has with other as of yet unknown pieces of information. It also means identifying and establishing relationships between entities on your graph that you may not be aware of yet. To start off, we need to add some information to the graph. You do this by identifying the type of information you have in the entity palette on the left and dragging that entity onto the graph. Maltego will give this new entity a default value to suggest to you what the information should look like. For example, if we drag an email entity onto the graph, it will have a sample email address. You change this value by double-clicking on the text of the entity or pressing the F2 key. Let's change it to our support email address, support@maltego.com. Let's say we want to figure out where Maltego's mail exchange is hosted. Select the newly added and modified email entity on the graph. On the left, in the Run view, expand the transform list and again the All Transform list. We'll cover what all these groupings means a little bit later. For now, the top transform in the list sounds interesting. To-domain DNS. Hovering over the description, it says the transform is going to remove the first part up until the @ symbol and return the domain that this email address uses. Simple enough, let's click the little play button. In a second or two, Maltego will return a new entity, a maltego.com domain, and add it to the graph with a line to indicate the relationship with the email address. Another way to run a transform is through the transform context menu. Select the new domain entity and right-click anywhere on the graph. You should see the transform menu appear. Transforms are sorted into groups and sets according to the source and type of information it will return. Make sure you are at the topmost level by clicking on the left vertical bar a few times. One of the sets we see is called DNS from domain. Clicking it, we see a list of transforms in this set. One of these is called toDNS name MX mail server. This sounds exactly like the information we were looking for. Click on the name of the transform to run it. A new entity of type MX record is added to the graph, again with a relationship to the domain maltego.com indicated. While we are exploring, let's also find the name servers for this domain. Make sure the blue domain entity is still selected and repeat the instructions again, but run the DNS record NS name server transform instead. This time, two new entities of type NS record are returned as expected. Right, let's speed things up a bit. You don't have to run transforms one at a time. Using the mouse, click and drag a block around the three new MX and NS entities. You might have to pan your graph around a bit. The easiest for now is to just move the overview window around or, using the right mouse button, click and drag the graph around. With the three entities selected, right-click again and this time let's look up the IP address of these servers. In the Resolve to IP set, look for the toIPAddress transform. Notice how Maltego returns multiple results at the same time and for each maintaining the relationship to which it belongs. It is also possible to return multiple results if there are any, such as for the mail exchange server. As the last step in this example, let's select all the IP addresses and see where the servers are located. A simple way to select all entities of a specific type is to use the Select by Type menu in the Investigate tab at the top and selecting IPv4 address. Again, run a transform from the IP owner detail set called toLocation_country. Notice how some of the IP addresses returned a result in the same country? Maltego automatically merges all bits of information that are the same into one, thus establishing a relationship between parts of the graph. Notice how we only added one bit of information to the graph initially, the email address, and simply explored our options to find out some additional information about it using transforms. Let's look at another example. Open up another blank graph using the new graph icon in the top left of the window. For this investigation, we pretend that we have been given the task to investigate the DNS name that we discovered in our network traffic logs, namely relay.cia.gov. To start with the investigation, we have to add the bit of information that we already know to the graph, and this time it is of type DNS name. Again, click and drag the DNS name entity to the graph and change the value to relay.cia.gov. Certain server names are often enumerated, for example www, www2, or mail1, mail2, mail3, etc. Relay is another such example. Instead of trying each one manually, let's have Maltego help us. With the DNS name entity selected, right-click to bring up the transform menu and find the transform with the long name to DNS name, enumerate hostname numerically. If you can't find it, you can always use the search box at the top of the menu, using a search term such as enumerate. Once you have it, click the name to run it. Maltego will present you with a pop-up window asking for some more information. This is an example of a transform with additional transform settings. It is basically asking me whether the numbers should be padded. Think 001, 002, 003 versus merely 1, 2, and 3, and for what range of values we should search. Let's leave the defaults as they are and see what happens when you click the Run button. You should get multiple results, though it might be different than mine. Let us see what other information we can get from these DNS names. Select all by using Ctrl or Command A or the Select All button in the Investigate tab at the top, and as before, run the toIP DNS transform. At a glance, it seems like these new IP addresses all belong to the same class C netblock, but let us confirm this. Select all the IP addresses again, and this time look for the toNetBlock using natural boundaries transform. Before you run it, notice the little spanner icon next to the play icon on the right-hand side of the transform. This is the configuration button. Select it. This window shows a lot of information about transforms in general, as well as the detail about the transform, but the important bit is under the transform input section in the right-hand panel. Notice the block size property is set to 256. This means the results we can expect will be net blocks of size 256. In other words, the first 3 octets of the IP address will be the same. If you want, you could change this to a number that is more suitable for you. This is an example of a transform setting, but one that is hidden. It's the same as for the DNS name enumeration example we had previously, but by default this one is hidden. Let us leave it as is and click the Close button. Finally, let's run the toNetBlock using natural boundaries transform. In my case, it confirms my suspicion that all of these relay servers belong to the same netblock, probably one owned by the CIA. Okay, that was a mouthful. Let's stop here for now. We will be making more videos available in the coming months and diving deeper into some interesting use cases. Still, in the meanwhile, we encourage you to play around with different entity types, different transforms, and explore them to discover other exciting information and relationships. Until next time, cheers.